All right, this was Shams during the pregame show with the Mitchell Robinson update. Here's what he had to say, and I want to hear what you have to say on that one. Here we go.
From their starting lineup, it's one of the best starting lineups in the league. But you think about the bench. We've been talking about their bench depth all season.
Yeah.
Mitchell Robinson is the name to keep an eye on. He's someone, I'm told he's unlikely to get cleared until at least late January into February. So that pushes his timeline a little bit. So they need to see exactly whether he comes back and he's healthy and can play, or do you look into the market? Because they do potentially need another big man off the bench.
So they're saying January, February.
It keeps getting pushed back.
It keeps getting pushed, man. What are you hearing? What do you think?
Yeah, so, I mean, from the very beginning, the word was December, January, but that is completely, there's no set date. Everything can change based on how his rehab goes. Mm-hmm. And, I actually talked to his agent fairly recently, and he kind of just echoed the Knicks line of it's a step-by-step process. I have not heard any enthusiasm in terms of, well, he's really, about 2 steps away from coming back, or he's on the verge of coming back. That has never been said to me. And I've seen Mitch around, on the road. I think there's 2 things. There's the actual health with his ankle, which needs to get cleared up before he even starts running. He has not started running yet. And there's also the conditioning aspect. I think we all know that when Mitch has come back from long-term injuries, he's out of shape. Yeah. So it's a multi-tiered process of getting this guy back on the court, not only so that he's healthy enough, but also that he can sustain that health. And in order to sustain that health, he needs to be in shape. So, he's got a lot to work on. And I've always been of the mindset of I'm not convinced Mitch is going to come back until I see him back on the court.
Damn.
I mean, listen, I want, I'm sure he's working hard right now to get back on the court, but this was a guy who originally had his first surgery in December. They then said, remember they applied for a designated player exception, like he was going to miss the entire season. He came back a little earlier than expected. He then suffered another injury, and at the time, this was during the playoffs, during the Joel Embiid stuff, the Knicks said that this was a minor procedure. They said he was going to be ready for training camp. Now it's December 12th. He still hasn't come back. So, I don't want to count my eggs before they hatch kind of deal with Mitchell Robinson, and that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, man, I agree with you, man. It's gonna be a tough sledding, an uphill climb, and it could be like he was saying, January, February, just maybe until he even gets into shape.
That's a big part of it. It's a big part of it, and remember he's had the surgery on both feet now, and big men and foot problems is a bad recipe. And I remember when he broke his other foot, he had setbacks too. Right. I mean, he was supposed to come back earlier than he did. Now, he came back and he was great for a while. Yeah. But when you have surgery to both feet, it's like, oh, man, you're just one bad step or bad turn away from being out again.
And so as it pertains to the trade deadline, your trade deadline coming up in February, what options do they even have outside of hoping that he comes back, hoping Shamet comes back, maybe they bring Warren up, because the only tradable assets you have are the guys that you need. You need Precious, you need Mitch. You can't trade Deuce.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they have the 2 protected picks, right? They have Detroit and Washington.
Washington and Detroit, yeah.
Now, those aren't going to convey this year.
Definitely not.
Maybe, I mean, Detroit's is like maybe. It's possible, but definitely not Washington.
Definitely not Washington.
So those aren't very valuable. I still think that if they, they can go out and get like Derrick Rose, for instance, during the pandemic year, they got him for nothing. They got him for a 2nd-round pick and Dennis Smith Jr. So if you can find something like that, a veteran that wants to play in New York, that a team says, all right, we got to get rid of this guy or else we're going to lose him for nothing. Maybe something like that comes up. And don't forget, Derrick Rose really helped that team.
Big time. He became the best player to me when he got here.
So listen, there's a possibility you could find somebody that can really help you right now. I mean, if you're asking me to identify who that is, I
Yeah.
can't do that right now.
It's hard to say because we never really knew at those deadlines that they were getting those guys. I mean, when they got Rose, when they got Josh Hart, they always seem to be able to get something on the margins. That's why I'm a little bit more confident in Leon and those guys because, but they're gonna need it, man. They're definitely gonna need that help.
And I know Tibbs loves Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler's out there, but they have they spent their assets to get assets to get Mikal Bridges, so they're not in that business anymore.
Stuck, completely stuck, man.